DFS Show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We are looking at the Tuesday 7-game main slate, headlined by the Dallas Mavericks versus Los Angeles Lakers.
Wait, what? Why would that headline the slate?
Luka Doncic versus Nico Harrison matchup.
Dude, that is literally the matchup, right? It is Luka versus Nico. That's it.
It should be a fun. It should be a fun one, right? Will it be a letdown, I guess, is the question, right? Because sometimes we hype up these things. You know, the Tatum Kerr first battle, we're like, oh my God, like, look for Tatum's big game against Kerr. I'm like, it wasn't there.
Okay. No offense. No offense to your Boston fandom. Okay.
This is Boston fandom. He's an MVP candidate.
I'm not hurting. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here.
Yeah.
This is an unprecedented thing.
Okay.
Like, this is not even in the same ballpark as Steve Kerr versus Jason Tatum.
Steve Kerr benching Jason Tatum in the Olympics? Nothing?
No. This is a 25-year-old player that could be considered the best in the world.
Jason Tatum's only 19.
Okay. At worst, Luka is the third worst player in the NBA. Third worst player in the world.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
He is 25. He had been to a conference finals with a bad team. He had taken a refurbished team last year to the finals, right?
Yep.
25. 5-time first team NBA. Only 4 other players in the whole entire league has that, and they're all like, they've played 10 more years than Luka.
0 MVPs though.
Well, sure, 0 MVPs, yes, and apparently he's overweight. But you know what? Like we said, this is an unprecedented thing. No comparison in the history of almost in sports where one of the 3 best players in their respective sport is traded for conditioning purposes.
I was going to say, what makes it, we've seen star players traded before, but usually we could see it coming. There was some like disgruntledness.
Correct.
Like we knew they were forcing their way out of this situation. At midnight on a random day of the week, we get an alert that Luka Doncic is traded to the Lakers, and you and I were losing our minds collectively.
F-bomb. Dude,
everybody, the entire sports world's on Twitter like he has to be hacked, right? Like all NFL players were on Twitter being like, "What?" And
the double
players weren't sure. Like,
the double down of no, this is real was a hack.
Yeah,
from Shams. Luka was gonna buy a house. Reportedly, there was a super max. He just lost like $100 million. Dude, it's not that Nico just like uprooted his life. He just stole like all that money from him that he cannot get with the Lakers.
Right.
Like his next contract. There is so much on the table. I get it. There's not anything like this. Luka is going to stare up into the stands. Nico's gonna be there, right? Has to be there. Has to be there. I know it's in LA. Has to be there. Every single basket, he is going to stare into Nico Harrison's soul. And there might be 20 baskets that go in for Luka Doncic in this game.
You know who deserves a lot of credit for this?
Max Christie.
No, DraftKings for actually putting it on the main slate for us. You know,
yes,
they didn't cut this to a 5-gamer. You know, they left the full 7. They gave us the 2 10 p.m. games here so we can enjoy a nice full 7-game slate. Giannis off your minutes limit or increased minutes limit is your top priced guy at 11K. You got Doncic at 10.5. You have Anthony Davis returning to LA in his typical uniform, street clothes, at 10.2. LeBron James is $10,000. He's also playing really well. Even with Luka Doncic, so no worries there between those two, whether or not they can get along. So those are your guys up over $10,000. Point guards. Luka is 10.5. Got LaMelo at $9,500, Dame at $93, Kyrie at $9,200, and Devin Booker at $9K.
Luka. That's all I know.
Yeah,
Luka. It's Luka.
I assumed we weren't going anywhere else.
No, I don't think LaMelo plays. They haven't played him in the last couple back-to-backs, right? So
you don't think who?
LaMelo's going to
okay.
Doesn't the last couple back-to-backs, so we'll see. Dame is fine. Yeah.
Did Charlotte play him Monday?
Yes, they did. They're on the.
They're playing right now.
Yes, they're playing Sacramento. Dame's fine. Houston's obviously slumping a little bit. They did get Fred VanVleet back in practice, so we'll see if he's returning.
Is Kyrie being overlooked in this narrative?
Kyrie's definitely great. I mean, he's been great outside of the last game against Golden State. Kyrie has been awesome. So if you want to play Kyrie, I think that's
because we used to always talk the Kyrie LeBron, saga.
Yeah, I mean, the only narrative you're getting with me here is Luka. Luka. I mean, the amount of money that Nico Harrison took from him is enough. And then Booker. I think Booker is has a ceiling in a spot against a kind of scuffling Memphis team, and I don't think it's that much of a coincidence that you get this version of Devin Booker in the last two games when Bradley Beal is inserted back into the starting line.
Yeah.
You get the assists. Bradley Beal takes so much pressure off Booker and Durant. The volume is up, the efficiency is up for Booker. So I'd be in a massive pace-up spot. I would be very interested in Phoenix in general.
Yeah, the opponents obviously help as well. Chicago, Toronto, right?
Sure.
He has not played well against Memphis. Obviously, got 40 minutes in this game. Only 32 fantasy points there, but certainly can see the upside. We have San Antonio and New Orleans running it back. Fox down game. Was this like an Jose Alvarado situation, or he just had an off night?
No, it's just we're chalking that up as an off night. Moving it on.
You got him at 87. You got Steph against Charlotte at 88. Scotty Barnes, 86. Eamon Thompson's 84. Donnie Mitch, John Morant, and Reeves in your 8K tier.
Wow. Steph against Charlotte, where people think he's going to end his career. I don't know if you've seen that narrative.
Yeah, well, Del Curry is still calling games for them, right?
Yeah, he is. I mean, Steph looks great. So has Golden State. Can the game be competitive? If it's competitive, Steph has a really high ceiling. Love De'Aaron Fox. I'd be willing to. I'm not shying away from that at all. Toronto has been better and more competitive. If you want to play Scotty Barnes, I guess we could talk about him later. It's tournaments only anyway. I'm in Thompson. I am curious as to what happens when VanVleet returns, if this is the game that VanVleet returns.
Yeah, practiced.
We know VanVleet's going to start, right? They're full strength. If you remember, and this might not matter if Dillon Brooks doesn't play, but Amin Thompson was not a starter earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be curious to see if Amin Thompson starts if they're fully healthy, because I'm not sure he does. I guess it just depends on what they do with Jabari Smith. But if Thompson's coming off the bench, 8,400 is obviously way too expensive.
I would agree.
And Ja, I mean, dude, I don't know. I'm so indifferent about Ja Morant these days. I am completely aware it's a great spot.
Great
price. And I'm completely aware the spot is great, the price is great, and gosh dang it, the minutes are great, right? The minutes have been amazing for Ja.
Mm-hmm.
The production has just been so
it's been average.
That there's a ceiling game.
He took 24 shots against Orlando and 10 of 24.
Yeah.
So,
man, I'm not saying he's a bad play at all. I think he's a really solid play at the price with the minutes and all that. But obviously going back home, they had a pretty tough road trip, a very up and down road trip at that. And just
started against Phoenix, and he had 44 fantasy points in that game.
Yeah. I'm good with it. the price and really is the thing that stands out to me the most, and the minutes obviously tightened up. We kind of have figured like second half of the year we're going to start seeing more minutes, and that's kind of been what's happened. So
highest game total on the slate, 244.5.
Yeah, it's a massive total.
8.5 point favorite.
Yeah, like I'm good with Ja. I'm very good with Ja. Phoenix is obviously subpar defensively. I'm just like I'm waiting for these like him to string together these big games because it's been such a teeter totter of production.
I mean, when they got Bane and they got Triple J and whatnot, and Santi Aldama's been playing really well, right? Sometimes they're just other guys taking shots, but Ja's a really good price.
Yes, he is.
Matchup. All right, what are we doing in that next mid range? Garland obviously was out the other day. He gets Orlando if he plays. You have McCollum 75. Again, having to figure out which other Pelican has a good game. Not named Zion. Toronto's got Boston. Boston's on the other side of that matchup. Good spot for them. No Drew Holiday in that game. What do we think happens here in the mid range?
Dude, Emmanuel Quickly is playing really well, and the field is flocking to this dude. He has been so popular these last few slates. Obviously, I worry about how well Boston's playing. Boston is like fully locked in, routing everybody. They're routing everybody again. So, Toronto not being a great team, Boston has just constantly not played competitive games. So.
Yeah, I think Boston ran Toronto out of the gym the last.
I also think they lost.
Outright. They did, actually. You're right. So they lost. They did lose that game. Was it the game before that? Yeah, 125-71.
Yeah, that was the game. The win was like the 50-point win, and then the loss was like in that middle of the stretch where everyone was panicking about the Celtics. And now they look like the best team in the NBA again. And yeah, I mean, I think Quickly is fine if you think the game can stay competitive. I think Derek White is solid if you think that game can stay competitive. So I think both those guys are probably the two that stand out for me in the mid-tier. And then like fringe mid-tier value play. Dude, how about Brandon Pajemski re-entering the starting lineup? Dude has been awesome. He has fit so well into this starting lineup. This new starting lineup where they're going Draymond at the 5 and you're seeing like the young guys play. I'm sure Jonathan Kuminga's like, where has this been for the whole year? Like, why haven't I been having this much fun? If Pajemski's going to be this good and there's even room for more minutes, if the game can stay competitive, I think he's too cheap. If we're going to get constant upside of like 40 fantasy points.
I don't disagree. I mean, obviously, you look at the team he's playing with. He's playing with Butler. He's playing with Curry. So you wonder, like, all right, is he going to continue to be, this efficient shooting, filling up the stat sheet the way he is to give you 40, 35, 42 fantasy points? But, until he doesn't, I guess, like, the price going up probably only lowers the ownership, especially on this slate. Again, no Drew Holiday, and you have a $5,200 Peyton Pritchard. I feel like, we're going to get some ownership probably on Pritchard at 52. In that situation. You have Alvarado again. He hasn't started, but he comes off the bench and plays big minutes the last couple of times. Huge production out of him. You get him at 55 running that matchup right back. So I almost think that Pozgo's maybe a little bit overlooked in this spot here.
Why didn't you mention the guy in between Jose Alvarado and Peyton Pritchard?
Are you talking about Cole Anthony or Chris Paul?
No, the guy in between.
Oh,
why didn't you mention him?
Well, we had this happen against Washington.
Yeah, but we're not going to play him. He's going to go for 60
against Cleveland, probably.
Yeah, it's how that works.
Chris Paul 1 for 10, terrible, right? All the guards basically in that game sucked. Castle was no good.
Yep, they were bad.
So I bounce back for all of them. I don't think you can play any of these value.
The play here is if Darius Garland sits, you just play Ty Jerome and you don't worry about who he's matched up against because it does not matter. Ty Jerome. Yeah, Suggs is out. Right. You just play this guy who had 3 fouls in 5 minutes in the first half and then did what he did in the second half. And you're like, oh, right. Ty Jerome's been doing that all year. So if there's no Garland, that's the play right there.
Agreed. Definitely can get there. Any other value that you'd play down here?
If Elf started, I'd probably consider it. I also don't know when Elf's second 10-day contract runs out. Could very well be like tomorrow.
Yeah, they just haven't played KJ Simpson, so
yeah, straight up DMPs. So the only answer down there would be Elf if Elf were to start.
Shooting guard, a lot of these guys we've kind of touched on. Murphy's 81, Jaylen Brown down to 77, under 8K Jaylen Brown. That's our spot for him there.
That is our spot, and it's a really good one. Without Drew, possibly no Al Horford, so the depth. I kind of said it to you. I think we're gonna get a lot of minutes out of like a lot of teams' top players. So I like Jaylen Brown 77 for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that's a pivot off of Donovan Mitchell if Garland sits, because everyone's just going to click Donovan Mitchell.
Yep, that's fair. 4 straight games for RJ Barrett, over 40 fantasy points. You know, I know we assume Boston runs here, but a healthy Toronto team does have at least 3 like really good players.
Yes.
You know, and do they have Pirtle back? I don't know. Like,
he was questionable last game and didn't play. He's questionable for this game as well.
But I mean, a Barrett Quickly Barnes lineup like can be competitive with how good they are. So
if they're playing as well as they've played, I mean, they've been Quickly and Barrett especially have been playing extremely well lately.
Yeah. You get Bane below them, $7,100. Again, he's been fine. Tough game against Cleveland, but again, Cleveland, Orlando. Look at all these road games, just like absolute killer.
Yeah, the schedule has been terrible. Just get to Bradley Beal. That's where we're gonna go. He's gonna be really popular, but he should be. Shooting guard, small forward, 64, back in the starting lineup, 38 and 41 minutes. The efficiency has been off the charts, but like he is a very good offensive player who has been very good in like all the games he's played lately.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, kind of, I don't know, maybe Phoenix is now maybe a bit refocused, sort of, now that the trade deadline's gone. I mean, I know they're not winning all of these games, but like, hey, we're here to the end of the year where no one's getting traded. So,
dude, I mean, I think isn't that like hey, we can't do anything. We're not getting traded. We're not getting bought out. Like, might as well just go, right? Like, just try to outscore everybody because we can't play any defense.
Can't play a lick of defense. All right, anybody else down here? Would you play Vassell, Klay Thompson,
no.
Nick Smith, Christie, 51?
I mean, Nick Smith is definitely priced as if someone's sitting tomorrow. That's because he has not been this price for a while.
Yeah, highest actually all season.
Christie had one bad game. I'd be okay going back to it. Moses Moody has been really solid since entering the starting lineup for Golden State. And again, another guy who's just kind of has a higher minute ceiling with this new starting lineup. They've just blown teams out lately. So you can go to Moody. Champagny made all those threes the other day, but he didn't I don't think you can safely go back to that.
He played 19 minutes in that game.
The Mavericks are still starting Exum, but he's playing like no minutes. I don't think there's anything that we need to go to.
Small forward then. Again, we'll talk Tatum and LeBron at power forward. You got Wagner at 87. Barnes, the small forward Zion Williamson at 80.
Well, he's starting at small forward. It's a crazy lineup that they're running.
They still refuse to play him more than 28 minutes.
Yeah. That's where we're going to get rest of the year. I just feel like that's where
I know. He's dominated.
He has been so good.
If they let him play, I mean, obviously he would be more expensive if they were letting him play 35 minutes. But like at this rate of production, if he was playing 35 minutes, he'd be 65 fantasy points. Like
if they came out tomorrow in the morning, Willie Green shoot around, and Willie Green said there's no minutes restriction for Zion Williamson. What's his ownership tomorrow? He's like one of the higher rostered spend ups of the day, right?
I mean, I would think probably in that range. I mean, Luka's going to be one. We all know that, right?
Yes.
And then, but Zion might be top 5. You know, right? Like
he would be. Nobody's really expensive on this slate, so you could do like a Luka Zion build and like be okay with that.
Agreed. Again, Murphy's below them. Like again, it's someone gets hot, it's going to be somebody else, right? Like he's he's on another little run of like kind of sucking from three.
Yep.
But when he doesn't suck from three, he goes for 50 fantasy points. So Butler's been great again, and we're all expecting kind of a blowout here. Charlotte on the road, probably no ball. Like, don't think they'll be competitive, but at $7,800, Butler's been really good. We talked Beal already, who you can just easily plug in at this spot. Hachimura continues to be really good, even with LeBron and Luka playing well.
And Reeves playing well too.
So like they're all just kind of a random 0 rebound game for Hachimura too, and he 31 fantasy points still. So I think you can get to a lot of spots here. If you're not playing Zion, actually.
Yeah. I definitely like Zion in tournaments. Butler's safe. Brown, we talked about. Barrett, we talked about. I like the Kuzma role. I don't like the price with everyone healthy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the Keldon Johnson well down to 5K. I know he only played 24 minutes again. It's kind of frustrating with how good he's been offensively, but he is I was watching the last couple games. On this second unit, he's like bringing the ball up a lot. So he's just in every offensive action, and he's obviously been a flamethrower. So I'm going to play him again. He's probably going to be single-digit ownership once again, and I'm going to be like, hey, why once again? Why is no one playing Keldon Johnson again? He's been this guy all year without Wemby. So, I like 5K Keldon Johnson. Dylan Brooks news, something to be monitoring here, because that would obviously – then we wouldn't have to worry about Amen Thompson not starting, but Dylan Brooks being questionable is interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else for you for value?
I guess Hauser would be a little bit interesting to me if Horford were to sit.
Sure.
And I say that specifically because we know he's going to start. If Horford sits, we know Hauser starts, right? He'll start.
Yeah, I agree. Again, he has sort of that tournament upside, with the 3 points, if he can just knock him down at this price, So, I mean, he's an underrated rebounder. We'd often talk about too, right? So if he gets those opportunities to be on the floor there.
Vince Williams, 36. He's playing about 20 minutes a night.
We had a comment on him the other day on the show. It's very difficult to play like anybody off the Phoenix bench, unless you're Santi Aldama.
Memphis bench.
Memphis bench. Unless you're Santi Aldama, which we'll talk about here now. Power forward. Again, if you want to get to Giannis, you certainly can. But you have LeBron at 10K. Tatum's been really good. You get Durant under 9K now. I think you could just put names in a hat and pull one out and probably be okay with it.
The Giannis play versus the narrative is really interesting, right? If there's no limit.
Yep.
Like we've both said it. We came on the podcast, we spent the first 5 minutes talking about Luka.
Yes.
And then we doubled down and said like Luka's the guy. And then you tripled down when you said Luka, everyone's gonna play Luka.
He is.
No, I don't disagree. But Giannis is like the pivot, no? Like that's the minutes restriction kind of going away. 32 minutes last game, 23, 16, and 7 in 32 minutes as they gear up for a playoff push where they're trying to hold off teams and the seed they're in. I don't know. This game means a lot to Milwaukee. Every game means a lot to Milwaukee where they're seated right now. They want to finish at least in the 4 seed to host at least one playoff series, right? So, if you get 30,
are you concerned, I guess, at all that like 23, 16, and 7 is only 58 fantasy points? Like, I don't know.
Well, if that's 35 minutes,
maybe he gets up to 65 or something like that.
And we're talking about only 11,000. That's 55 for 5x. Yeah. We're talking about like. We just almost had a triple double, and the guy could play 3 to 4 more minutes in this game. Like he averages 34. I know, but we saw a lot of 37-minute games from Giannis.
I just wonder if the better pivot is up to Giannis or down to LeBron from Luka.
Down to LeBron, yeah. I mean, obviously pivoting to LeBron could be very fruitful as well.
Right.
But
I mean, he's not. He's. I mean, it's LeBron. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
This guy is.
Yeah.
He could play forever at this level, I guess. Right. I mean,
we
all think like this might be his last year, and here he is, 38 minutes a night. Going 48 and 4 the other day. Like
and like pushing the 2 seed, dude. They're like kind of like getting close to the 2 seed here. It's crazy.
It is, and they have no front court.
No, small ball Dorian Finney-Smith lineup is crushing souls.
Yeah. It won't hurt them here against Dallas.
No.
Dallas also doesn't have a front court.
So. No, 6'5" Kessler Edwards is their starting center.
Right. Again, Jason Tatum. I mean, if you want him to get there, I'm not going to knock you on it. You can pop off as anybody else can. Nearly triple doubled in back-to-back games there coming out of the break. Again, I think Durant is too cheap. He's going to have a hell of a matchup with Triple J on him in this spot. Obviously, that would be like your lone concern. But in 2 games, he's cooked 56 fantasy points against them.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, this game is fun. This is the best game of the board.
It's 244.5 total. So you got all that crew. You got Mobley versus Banchero. Banchero did not have a good game against Cleveland the last time these 2 played against each other. I don't believe. Yeah, he hasn't played against them this year. What was I thinking of? I was thinking the Memphis game. He struggled, but we know that Mobley is a good defensive player. So I don't really know if I necessarily love that from the Banchero standpoint, but Mobley's probably in a good spot here.
So. This is, I understand like everyone's like desire to like pivot to Donovan Mitchell as soon as like, oh, Garland's out, got to go to Mitchell.
Yeah.
Dude, Evan Mobley before this game was at 1.5 fantasy points per minute and like obliterated everyone else on his team and then went for 60. Like people are still not hip to how good Evan Mobley's been this year and how good he is anytime like one of those 2 players are off the floor. Mm-hmm. This would be my first target. If we're talking Cleveland, if Darius Garland's out, this is the first place I'd go. I mean, obviously the 8 assists is a little bit of an anomaly, but 25, 13, and 3 blocks is definitely within the range of outcomes for Evan Mobley. Even if we didn't get 8 assists out of him again, like he has taken a massive leap. And without Garland, he's their best fantasy player.
Yeah. Dude, the numbers for him, we've always said it, right? He has the talent to be an absolute monster. Triple J down to $7,700. PJ Washington, 74 with a questionable tag. Anything in this mid-range for you?
Yeah, not worried about the PJ tag. He's been on the injury report as questionable like every game since coming back. And he's played well. So I like both those guys. The problem with Jackson is we're reverting John. We complimented him. Now we have to, okay, how do we do we berate him here? We how do we get him back on track to not fouling? Because now we're back in the, I'm going to foul and get in foul trouble and not play enough minutes to be relevant. How do we can we rescind our compliment that we gave him like a month ago when he wasn't fouling and playing 30 minutes or 33 minutes a night? Now he can't. I want to rescind that compliment.
Okay.
And this is me trying to reverse jinx because we are big Jaren Jackson Jr. fans here. And I'd love to play him, and you can play him in a tournament, but just understand that he is once again being that foul-prone guy that ruins our lineups every time we play him.
I agree. We know what the upside can be. He's obviously had some tougher matchups. Again, Cleveland, or all these road games.
And it's not getting better. It's guarding Durant.
I agree. All right, so we got that there. You got Draymond, Hachimura we've talked about. Jabari, 50% chalk, went for the worst game of all time the other day. I might just keep playing Santi Aldama, man. I know that I've been Team Santi day one, but dude, we're getting huge performances out of him right now.
You have been Team Santi day one. I mean, for good reason. He's really good. I think this is a spot that profiles really good for him because Phoenix isn't necessarily a team that is going to run much of a traditional center.
Right.
They're not really playing Richards all that much. They're not really playing Plumlee all that much.
If they go the Royce, Grayson Allen 5 with Durant,
KD at the 5, I mean then E's done and you get triple. That's always the thing in the back pocket. Memphis can always do that too because they have one of the best defensive versatile bigs in the league. Like he can play both. He doesn't want to, but he can. And that's why we're seeing the minutes from Santi. So I fully agree. And it's not a coincidence. The minutes are ticking up. The production has been super elite out of this guy.
And like he's not blowing it out of the water with like scoring production. He's just giving like mid scoring numbers, but he does a lot of everything else too, right? It's not just he's rebounding at 11 rebound game, a couple of games with some assists. He had a 7 assist game against the Clippers, got some blocks, some steals, so it's all kind of mixing in there. He shoots threes, so like I'm just a big fan of Santi Aldama. Obviously, as the price comes up, you take that into consideration as well. But I mean, other than Keldon Johnson in this range, I mean, I guess Royce O'Neal would be obviously a play, given the minutes that he's been getting. You have Najee Marshall, Kelly O at $4,500. He's been starting. It's been awesome. Some good value at power forward here.
Yeah, I think Olynyk really stands out. Power forward, center. Obviously, like the minutes seem to be what they are, right? It seems like not going to play more than 25. Maybe that changes if he gets more comfortable with his like the team and the role and stuff. They're extending Alvarado off the bench more than him, but they didn't really play Yves Missi. They didn't play him at all in the fourth quarter either. So like they're doing that big starting lineup. But Kelly O played in the fourth. Yves Missi didn't. I think he's just a really good fantasy player. So I think 4,500 for Kelly Olynyk is really great. He also ran, I think, a little poor. I don't know if you saw it was the Carlo Matkovic game the other day.
Yeah.
And Carlo Matkovic did not come off the floor once he entered in the third quarter because he just kept scoring. I think that had to do with Kelly O's minutes maybe stopped at 25. Sure. So I think there's even more room for Kelly Olynyk. And then have to mention had a random Boucher game. There's always that in the cards. I think you would need Jakob Poeltl to be out, but there is the possibility that Chris Boucher just does Chris Boucher things.
Sure. You mentioned obviously they can play small. You got Dorian Finney-Smith here playing small ball. You got Kessler Edwards, 14, 12 minutes last couple of games for him. They go to some sort of small lineup. Maybe he sees some additional run, but nothing we're like confidently playing outside of like Olynyk, Maktovic there, I guess. Center. Şengün's your first traditional center here at $8,500. Got Porzingis at 75 is the next one.
Yeah, I like both those guys. Zinger's good. That's I like that price.
I mean, what Mobo's gonna be out there guarding him? Like if there's no Poeltl?
They're starting Orlando Robinson.
Orlando Robinson the other day, right? So like that's feels like a big Porzingis spot. Where do you go next? What's your next play?
I like Draymond if that game can stay competitive. Wendell Carter will be really popular. Those would be like the two. He's going to be the highest rostered center of the day, probably.
You think so? Tough spot for him.
He has been incredibly chalky. The price is still not caught up to like the production, and the only reason his minutes were where they were is because the starters never came back in that game. Yeah. They pulled away in the fourth quarter. I think Wendell Carter is going to be really popular. I guess
he's been chalky due to the opponent matchup versus this, or just
no. He re-entered the starting lineup and immediately has been chalked for 3 straight games. Or whatever it's been.
4,
4 straight games. Like I'm not saying that Cleveland's bad. obviously Cleveland's a top 10 defense in the NBA. I just think like we're going to get max minutes. We didn't actually mention Mark Williams probably plays in this game, $8,000.
Yeah, I guess that's true because he didn't play the other day. So
today, so we're gonna probably see. I don't know. He played 30 minutes in the Lakers game. No, if there's no LaMelo, 30-minute Mark Williams and Miles Bridges is like your tandem. I don't hate that.
Okay. I mean, obviously you can play Kelly O here. Is there any Biyombo played 30 minutes? Would you give that another look?
No, I mean,
they are starting him.
I know. Why I don't understand why he played 30 minutes. Bassey actually left that game. Do we have the Bassey status?
Bassey out.
Oh man, that's so unfortunate for us that we have to literally click Bismack Biyombo in the year 2025. It's possible. It's possible. Orlando Robinson probably gets another start if Pirtle doesn't play. He's like what he is, but there's nothing else.
All right. Go into Luka.
Go into Luka.
Start him there. Do you want Kelly O power forward or center? You can go Olynyk at center, Kelvin at power forward.
Yeah, play Olynyk at center because there was nothing we liked there.
There. Let's see. Aldama. You wanted Beal, which is good. 6,400 elite price. 6,100 for a guard, forward, util.
Paid Pritchard.
Yeah. Past PP. 66. Probably get one more spend up and like your 5 go like Moody or Christie or something like that, or maybe even a little bit cheaper. Anybody down here? Not really.
I mean, obviously we would just obviously plug Jerome in.
Sure,
if we knew that, yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have here? RJ was 72.
There's like no like other like definitive value.
I was gonna say I was gonna go down there again. There's Biyombo's 43.
Yeah, I mean plug Bismack.
That gives us a 9K.
Well, how about this? No. Play Bismack at center. Play Bismack at center, and then just so we have the opportunity to play.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's a 9K anything. 9K util.
It's probably still Durant.
Booker Durant?
He's probably still one of those two. De'Aaron Fox. I'd go right back to the well with De'Aaron Fox too.
I like going back to Fox there. All right. So Doncic, Beal, Keldon, Aldama, Biyombo, Pritchard, Olynyk, and Fox. We got 3 Spurs. But it is the Pelicans.
Yeah, I mean, 30. They're 30th in the league in defense. Yeah. Like if you want to play 3 Spurs, I think that's fine.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's the example lineup for everybody. Again, James and I will be back live at 5 p.m. Eastern time to break this all down for you guys again with the latest news and updates. Justin Carlucci will be on your playbook, so check that out when it gets released in the Discord. Leave your comments. Let us know who you think is going to win the battle between Luka Doncic and Nico Harrison. Revenge games. Are you a believer in the narratives? Let us know. Grind and I will talk to you later.